Oh, hello, hello. Welcome to the front porch. It's that time of year, man. I was talking about it this morning. I love the last days of June and those, like July 1st and 2nd. That 5 to 6 days leading up to the 4th of July when everybody has their stash of fireworks and they're starting to get a little antsy. They want to try a few. You start hearing little pitter-patters from here on in. And then, of course, you're going to get every once in a while a gigantic shock to the system. Somebody just blows off a pineapple of dynamite. And, but I love it. And I love all these, this is the best kind of ASMR. I don't like all the other ones. Everybody tapping their fingernails on glass and eating bananas. But, Calmed by Nature is a great site who does all of these landscapes and stuff. Calmed by Nature. There's other ones there too. It's like Nemo's Dreamscapes and all that stuff. But that's what I love. I love this. It's like sitting on the back porch. It's what this is what this show is supposed to feel like. Well, tonight, ladies and gents, just a little bit of this and that. Up front, I want to talk to you all about a nice little... Hold on a second. I don't want it to be too jarring. Are we here? There we go. Up front, I want to talk about some weird stuff with you. I got some news, some follow-ups from last week. We've got some video. I found that video of somebody called in talking about a woman that was sitting in the middle of the street, in the middle of the highway out there in Houston. I found that. But there's more. And in the first half, I'd love to just leave the lines open for some weekend thoughts, but also I want to hear you guys and gals call in to talk about anything, any strange, inexplicable thing, experience you've had, something you've seen or heard, smelled, that you could not explain to this day. It almost haunts you. You get bonus points if it's something that happened recently. But in the second half, just after the midway point, around 8 o'clock, is when we're bringing back on Jeff Harman. Jeff Harman is going to be giving us a little bit of a mid-year review, an Astro chart mid-year review. And I got a lot of things to ask him. Tomorrow's going to be fun. Let's see what else we have going on tomorrow. Tomorrow, man, oh man, we've got Nephilim Death Squad coming back in, Top Lobster and Raven. That should be a lot of fun. Because, maybe Matt will be here too. So that's it. July 1st. Death Squad and perhaps even Matt. And then Chris Ann Hall on July 2nd. We're going to do a little bit of a SCOTUS review there. And then there's the single bill voting and everything else. And I just think it's going to be a great week. On the 3rd, we're going to have Jay Gulanello in. Wait a second. Today's the 30th. So that's 3. That brings us to Thursday. And then the 4th is the holiday. I'll still do a coffee stream on July 4th. July 4th, Friday. I'll go live. We'll have a nice coffee together and just, have a couple of thoughts. It's going to be a beautiful day over here in New York. It's going to be like mid 80s, I think, something like that. Not a cloud in the sky. It'll be nice because we just got a blow up pool for the kids. So when Aurora and her cousins come over, they'll have someone to splash in. I'll kick them all out and I'll just use it as a little jacuzzi for me. So get out of here, kids. Get out. This is my holiday. You are but children. Out. Go in the backyard. Get bitten by mosquitoes. Cousin Frank is going to be just chilling here in the sun. But that's going to be on That's going to be on Friday. And hopefully on Friday morning, because the last time we had a Friday, wasn't Memorial Day on a Friday as well? That's right. I think No, that was on a Monday. It's like the same. You either have a holiday on a Monday or a Friday. It's the same vibe. Friday's a little bit better because then you have the whole weekend on the other side of you. But I don't know. A Monday holiday is just as well, especially if you have the leeway to take Tuesday off. I didn't, but on Memorial Day morning is when we went live. We had a little bit of a talk, and of course, I got into a fight with Lilo Brancato from A Bronx Tale. That was Monday. I wonder what celebrity I'll get into a fight with on Friday morning, after I very politely asked them to come on the show, and then 2 exchanges later, there's a nuclear holocaust that goes on. That was a very strange morning. I don't think that's going to happen to me on 4th of July. There's a different energy in the air. But speaking of energy, I want to hear what's going on with you and whether or not it is drawing any kind of strange things into your life over the last couple of weeks, or if there's just something you want to talk about that's been nagging you for years. I want to hear stories of high strangeness. Okay, it's a quick pitch. You come on, you call, you say, listen, you got to hear this, and boom, here's the crux of it. And then I'll continue to ask questions. And then before you know it, it'll be 9 o'clock, and then we get to wrap up what is another American classic in our book club, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Tonight is the final session for Tom Sawyer. If you have never read this, another incredible summertime book. Lindsay Sharman is going to be coming on to read The Body with us in August, which is the source material for Stand By Me, which is also the source material for our August tradition on this show, the Deer Scene. So you guys are going to be able to read it with me, and it's going to be it's like a full circle event. So we're reading books, we're watching films. Join the Culture Club. And that's really all I have to say about that. Oh, and I'll be telling you guys about this as the month of July rolls on. But here is another reason to sign up as a monthly sponsor. We have a short supply of these that have been sent to us by a friend out there in the audience. His name is Jared. He made bumper stickers, and he quoted King. Get dressed, you're going. Bumper stickers, quitefrankly.tv. 1 King 40, 316. So I guess it's like part of some sort of a Bible offshoot there. This stack of stickers showed up at the P.O. box over the last week. I said, oh my gosh. I think there's about 25 to 30 in there. I don't know what the hell it is, but we're obviously going to be including this in on all of the welcome packages that we send to all new monthly sponsors. So get dressed. You're going. It's very patriotic looking. I don't know what you want to put. You want to put it on the back of a car? If you want to go that far? If you want to put it on the back of a Power Wheels? You want to put it underneath your skateboard? We used to put all types of bumper stickers underneath our skateboards. Whatever. You could put it on your guitar case, your bass guitar case. If you're a drummer, you can put it right on your bass drum shell. Whatever the hell you want to do. It's just, get dressed. Where is he? Where the hell is he?
Get dressed. You're going.
Every time somebody looks at your bumper, they'll think of that voice. Don't you want it? Anyway, give us a buzz tonight. We want to hear from you. Let's get this one started, and we'll be underway. It's Quite Frankly. Good evening. What do you think that we should do to entertain people at home?
I hate this show.
Oh, my God. So I don't look at the chat room. And now she's kind of brought that with her.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!
Nice. All right. So, what the hell's going on with you guys? I'll say, I'll get some things started off over here as we get reacquainted for the new week. I saw this article that I thought was pretty interesting because we've had such harsh indictments of the TSA over the years. Got to get rid of it. The TSA has never prevented anything resembling a terrorist attack. All they do is rummage through your personal. Say they grab your balls, they diddle your ass crack, and they, I mean, they steal your stuff. The TSA has stolen so many more laptops and iPads than they ever came close to preventing terror. But anyway, people feel like it makes them safe and all that stuff. And you know what? I've been finding it hard to say anything complimentary of them until now. A passenger was flagged by the TSA after Swamp Crotch sets off an alarm, and it's happening to others as well. It's the ire of flyers who profusely perspire. Nearly no one enjoys getting stopped by Transportation Security Administration authorities at the airport. Yeah, because it means that you're about to get molested and or stolen from. But then, checkpoint alarms bells began blaring around a traveler's groin, as happened to one befuddled passenger not long ago. There's a chance it's due to extreme wetness in their pants, insiders say. I guess that's the culprit right there. Yep, she looks like she's a little too soggy, if you ask me. I flew for the first time in 15 years this week, and both airports flagged my crotch at the arms up scanner, a confused tripper confessed on Reddit recently. The wet wanderluster described herself as a mid-sized adult woman, 169 pounds, 5'8". Wearing bike shorts and normal underwear. Bike shorts and normal underwear. The Skyway siren assured social media readers that her private parts are neither pierced nor outfitted with medical devices. She claims her pockets were totally empty, but was it? I don't care about the pat down. They were polite and professional, but for some reason, very sweaty down there. Has this ever happened to you? If you have any strange TSA stories you want to bring up, please call in, because now Swamp Crotch is the next thing that's holding up lines at JFK. So if we need anything else. Now, I do have a follow-up. First of all, I'm going to open up the lines. Remember, like I said, it is all types of high strangeness stories. Keep it nice and concise. Get it out. Hey, I have a story. This is what happened. And then whatever the hell else you want to add to that, I want to bring it on in. We got 45 minutes. Let's make this a good one. If you're watching, you definitely have a story somewhere in your life. Dig it out. Now, this also has to do with last week. Last week we were taking calls, and somebody called and said, Frank, you know what? I think there's a new Disney theme park that is all America themed. And I looked around, I couldn't find anything, but I did get a email from somebody. Said, Frank, I think this is what that woman that called in was talking about. Listen to this. This is from attractionsmagazine.com, but it was published back in 2023. It's a new theme park in Oklahoma that's opening this year in 2026 with Charlotte's Web. Oklahoma will welcome a $2 billion resort in 2026. I don't know if it's on pace to being completed. Featuring the American Heartland theme park and an adjacent compound. Let's take a tour of the new theme park, Six Lands, which includes Charlotte's Web, introducing American Heartland. It's a 1,000-acre property known as American Heartland Theme Park and Resort. Will open in two phases. The 300-acre Three Ponies RV Park and campground will debut in spring 2025. 25 is this year, 26 is next year. Guess they're timing it for the 250th. And the 125-acre theme park designed to emulate American locales will follow in fall of 2026. The design team includes the first time, or the firm that created the port of entry at Universal Islands of Adventure. Islands of Adventure was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun at Islands of Adventure growing up. So let's see here. The theme park and the campground will be created by American Heartland. Phase 1, we already talked about the cabins and the RV parks and all that stuff. But phase 2, the new theme park, you're going to get things like this. Liberty Village, featuring shops and replica of the Liberty Bell. Liberty Village will be a place where warmth and entrepreneurial spirit of classic small-town America shines through. Featuring shops and replica, like I said. Great Plains. The Great Plains. Guests can experience Charlotte's Web Barnyard Adventure. It's described as one of several imaginative experiences in American heartland that celebrate the classic stories and illustrations that have inspired generations of readers. So I wonder if there's going to be a Tom Sawyer. There's got to be some Mark Twain in there. The Bayou Bay. It's the swamp. It'll be a home to mystery and magic of some of the cutest critters this side of the Mississippi. It's probably going to be possums all over the place, including the Voodoo House and Critter Tales. Then there's going to be Big Timber Falls. So essentially, it is just they want to take all of the greatest parts of the U.S. What is this? Electropolis will be the home of a ride called Terminal Velocity, American Heartland's line. This almost looks like what the country would have been like if the trajectory we were on, if everything that we were showcasing at the 1893 Columbian Exposition continued on. Electropolis. It'll celebrate high voltage stories and high powered thrills. Yeah. That's probably, who knows? So that's what they were talking about. It seems interesting. Give you a little bit more of a reason to go out there to Oklahoma. I've had so many people from Oklahoma say, Frank, trust me, there's not much out here. I said, well, you know what? I kind of want to see not much. I just want to be in different places. But this will definitely be a magnet. Now you're going to have so many New Yorkers coming to Oklahoma. You're going to love it. You're going to just love it. Trust me. Open up the doors. You have any foliage we can take pictures of? Anyway, so that's that. That's all I have for you on that front. You know, I think that what they should do is they should add a whole other wing to this theme park where white collar crime, especially the crimes that are committed in Washington, D.C., are prosecuted in very public ways. That would be amazing. It's like, okay, you know, I'm going to the Bayou. I'm going to the boardwalk. I'm going to, you know, Charlotte's Web. It's going to be a barn or whatever the hell else. But can you, like, come to America this October and live through a simulation of what it would have been like if Hillary Clinton were arrested back in 2017? Then they would cast somebody as Donald Trump, as Hillary, as James Comey, as Rod Rosenstein, Jeff Sessions. It'd be fully immersive where everybody, every shopkeeper is like, you know, you walk in and they're like rapt attention. They're watching their little television. And, you go up there to buy some gum or something like that. And they're like, have you seen this? I can't believe it. Hillary was blah, 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 blah. And like, it's almost like, you know, Tony and Tina's wedding or something where everybody in the town is in on it. And you get to live through a simulation of there actually being justice done where justice needs to be served. That'd be awesome. You're just going about your business in the park. You're just living, you're sleeping, eating, but all around you, all week long, there is this LARP, complete with breaking news on TV, the DOJ announcements of indictments. People are taking perp walks. That would be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. You know. Anyway, so there's that. What would you add to the American theme park? Man, I got a couple of questions for you already. Give me a buzz. Give me a buzz. All right, going on to Houston for another. I don't know. We already had one strange news story. Here's another one for you. The woman that was sitting in the middle of the highway with a gun in her hand. She had gotten into an accident. Then she took a folding chair, went into the middle of the highway, sat there with a gun, and just kind of chilled out. Well, here is a brief news update on that, and then we'll go to, I have some other footage on it. Listen to this.
A standoff on a highway in Houston ended with an embrace between an armed woman and police. Have a look. This was the scene on I-45 yesterday. The Harris County Sheriff's Office says a woman was sitting in a chair on the highway with a gun after she intentionally crashed into a semi. There she is. It came to an end 5 hours later with the woman hugging the officers. Yeah, authorities say that she has mental health issues.
Well. Do we have any police negotiators out there? Is there anybody that has ever been part of a high stakes negotiation where somebody is threatening to harm themselves or somebody else, but it's high intensity, high stakes? I would love to talk to a police negotiator, somebody who comes in to confront people who are obviously on edge and going through something very serious, and that their lives and other people's lives are potentially at stake. That's a conversation I need to have. Definitely is. Here's a little bit of the footage. Somebody sent me. I haven't been on Facebook in God knows how long. But anyway, there's no footage like this on the internet. There she is, just hanging out in the middle. I guess that's where her car got hit. But now she's just camping. That's where she's sitting now. She got her revolver in hand and just having a ball. Obviously not too much of a ball. She's in distress, but still crazy. 7:21 now. My heart was pounding. A Massachusetts woman captures video of mysterious object falling from the sky. Hopefully this is going to give you a little bit more reason to call in. All of you who are just lining up and powering up their phones. My heart was pounding. Let's take a listen to this.
I'm Boston 25 News reporter Alyssa Azara in Pembroke, where a woman says she was enjoying the pool Wednesday night when she saw a strangely shaped and unfamiliar object falling from the sky just over there. The whole thing now caught on video.
Then I look up here to the sky, I see something falling down, so I pulled out my phone and I zoomed in, and it was right about there.
Colleen McCormick was out by her hot tub around 9 Wednesday night when she says she saw something strange and unfamiliar up above.
I see something falling down from the sky. It had blinking lights and looked like it was on fire or something. And it was just coming down really fast. I had no idea what it could have been.
McCormick captured this 8-second video from her backyard showing an unidentified object headed straight down.
There's 3 things, so it looks like it's fire or a big light.
Yeah, it does. But there's got to be something. It could be Iron Man, like some people saying. I just don't, but what the hell was that? I don't see anybody talking. Well, could it be a drone? Well, the shape of it is so strange. But again, it's something like I'd never had any experiences like this.
Expecting to hear a loud boom of some sort, she ran to the front of her home to hopefully capture the landing.
My heart was pounding because I just looked up. I'm oh God, what is about to happen right now?
But McCormick says the blinking object quickly vanished from her view.
It seemed like it was coming down so fast. It was just it knows what it's doing. It just goes like that. I don't know. It's weird.
With having never seen something like it before, McCormick's mind went racing.
I thought it was some explosive, but I don't know. Hopefully I'm not the only one that saw this. I'm not going crazy. I didn't see.
You see, when you look at some of those SpaceX rockets that come down and they're reusable and they're coming back down onto their platform and all that stuff, everything, all of the fire and all of the propulsions and stabilizing systems are really firing off below it. And for a while there, it looks like it's going at free fall speed or something like that. And then, of course, the brakes are pumped toward the end and it stabilizes and floats down. But this one, everything is up top. And it almost looks like an old-fashioned spaceship, the kind of cone-shaped spaceship that's going straight down with all the lights up top blinking as well. Didn't look like a plane. I don't know. Do you guys know what that is? Because I jumped into the Krista, my producer, sent this my way, and I love stories like this. And usually there's some really good explanations or suggestions in the chat, in the comments, and nothing. They're covering up a mistake that shouldn't have happened, someone said. Great investigative reporting. Not one news outlet went to where this object would have landed. Reporting has become total crap. That's true. I haven't seen any follow-up on this all day. If that video isn't slowed down, then the object isn't in free fall. It's a controlled descent, therefore no crash. No doubt about it. That's why I'm referencing SpaceX. Only all of the lights and all of the propulsion systems are flipped on that because you're coming down and then you're trying to pump the brakes, man. Strange. Someone said, don't let this distract you from the fact that in 1966, Al Bundy scored 4 touchdowns in a single game while playing for the Polk High School Panthers in the 1966 city championship game versus Andrew Johnson High School. Don't let this distract you from that. It's the first time someone captured a clear video of these things. What is these things? Well, you let me know. 567, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Frank. This is Joe out of Toledo.
Joe, out of Toledo. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm good.
Good.
I was just watching. I have a theory on what that fireball thing is.
The one that we just watched right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what a Chinese candle lantern is?
Are you talking about just those floating bags?
Yeah. You
No.
ever seen them when they eventually catch fire and come down?
That's not.
That's why some places they're banned, because that's what does happen. Eventually, the bag will catch fire and they'll fall down as like a little fireball. But that's why you won't find much on the ground, because by the time it gets a little low, and it comes down slow, but it's on fire.
Did you see?
And then
it
dissipates to ashes before it hits the ground.
Joe, did you watch the video?
That's what I was looking at it, and that's kind of what I thought I was looking at, because they do look like that. I bought a bunch of them it was not too long ago.
Yeah, but
we bought a bunch of them.
Joe, it's on the screen right now. We're talking about almost like a cylindrical rocket-shaped object that it's in a controlled descent, and it's blinking. Its lights are blinking. So I've seen those.
I need to look at it again then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take a look, because I appreciate your phone call. But this thing has blinking lights, so it's not a descending paper bag on fire. Look, I put it on screen again. Look.
I mean, yeah, it looks like it might have 3 things on top, right?
Yeah, it does. It does, but it's a good,
I mean, yeah, maybe it ain't.
It's a good
But
suggestion.
I know that sometimes them bags do flare up and stuff.
Indeed.
But it does look weird.
Indeed. Somebody sends their...
I didn't get up too close to it. I was kind of on the other side of the room looking at it at the TV.
Well, I appreciate the call, Joe. You called when nobody else did.
Yeah, I saw the number and I'm like, hey, no one else has a guess. Well, that was my guess. But thanks, Frank. Now that I'm looking at it, that does look weird.
So I know.
Well, she didn't. There's no crash site of nothing. So
well, that's
kind of weird.
That's what we're just talking about now here too. Nobody went and checked it out. If they did, they didn't publish their findings. But thank you for the call. Yeah, it has blinking lights. But I've seen those bags in the sky. When you're not expecting them, all of a sudden you say, "Whoa, an orb." And then you realize what's going on. There's a bunch of teenagers at a park somewhere lighting them off. So their summer wishes, some kind of a wish, like blowing a dandelion or something like that. Make my wish come true, or whatever the hell it is. Anyway, there's that. So you can call in on that front. All types of strange stuff that you have, give it to me. And then there's the other one from over the weekend. I know that there's quite a few of you who have paid at least some attention to this shooting. This sniper who was targeting firefighters in Idaho. It's crazy. And of course, on the surface, you have the same old shit. Who are his parents? And who did his parents vote for? And then we're going to, depending on how retarded we are, we're just going to blame one party or another for the violence, and then that'll be, chalk something off in our on the board, and then they move on. But everything else is just so strange about the whole thing, including the way that these people these faces are introduced to the public now. I got some thoughts and I want to ask you about. Let's take another call. 412, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. Are you aware, you know about the Jersey Devil and the Mothman?
What?
The Jersey Devil and the Mothman?
Oh, I think you just said the Jersey Devil. Just make sure that you're not on speakerphone and we can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So the Jersey Devil and the Mothman, you know how people say that this little thing on the side of the road suddenly expanded its wings and took up their whole windshield and then had red eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
And flew over their car.
Yes.
So I'm riding to my farm, and I see this what looked like a little old man on the side of the road, all hunched over. And there's a senior home there, so I'm like, oh God, what's that guy doing there? And all of a sudden, I had the Jersey Devil experience where the wings opened up. It flew like a foot over my windshield, and then soared off. And I'm like, you know what that was? But at my farm, I have a pond, and there's a great blue heron that comes, and it stands about 4.5 feet tall. And if its bill is tucked down towards its chest, like if it was standing on the side of the road, it looks, the silhouette would look like a little old man. So I don't know if I just debunked the Jersey Devil and that it's a great blue heron.
The great blue heron.
And they have it. When they take off, they can't just, they don't just launch. You know what I mean? So it's slow. So it was weird over my windshield, but it was the great blue heron that hangs out by my pond. It freaked me out at first. And I love a demon, Mothman, Jersey Devil story as much as anybody. But they also happen around swamps where a great blue heron might be. I don't know.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm looking at the great blue heron right now, and it says that they could stand about 3 to 4.5 feet tall with a
the
wing.
one by my pond. I've come when he's here, and he stands about 4.5 feet tall. And if he tucks his bill down onto his chest, you know what I mean? I could see how the silhouette would look like a little old man standing by the side of the road.
It's a very lanky man, though. I mean, it's not a big imposing. It's more of a long stick-like thing. I mean, I'm looking at here. The wingspan is about 6 feet, so it's big. It's big.
Yeah,
long. I should say it's long. But yeah. Hey.
So my brain thought I saw a little old man on the side of the road, but then it took off, and what the hell is in my, because it's dark and it's in my headlights, and
that's freaky.
It was like almost a blanket over my windshield, and I'm like, holy crap, what the hell was that? And then I get to the farm, and it's the great blue heron.
Wow. Well, you know what? Like I can totally see how that experience could have hit you that way. And if I was in your situation, it's crazy how, at least for a couple of seconds there, my world would have been turned upside down. And I said, oh, wait, hold on. Wait, let's think about this rationally. And just knowing what the hell's around you as far as wildlife goes, I can see how that is. Usually something that's just hunched up. I'm looking at the heron right now with as long as its wings are not splayed out like that, it kind of looks like if it's dark and I see the silhouette, I could see it looks like a little guy if the beak is pointed
with his
down.
Goofy shoulders and a small head.
Yeah, like a little hunchback.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
And I love a good, I'm as weird as anybody. I love a good.
Yeah. Well, it didn't happen. Well, thank God it didn't happen, because that's the last thing. That's the last thing you needed.
But it was what people report when they report the Jersey Devil. And I was thinking, I wonder how many of those are a great blue heron. But anyway, I'll let you go. That's my weirdness for today.
I love it. It's a weirdness that lasted maybe a couple of minutes, but still. What the hell is this? Eating a duck. Oh my gosh. Is this the blue heron? Thing is eating a whole duck. Oh, I didn't expect that. Thought he'd be eating like a fish. Eating a duck. Wow, my gosh. We found a bird without a head in front of the house the other day. Aurora and I walked by it. We were like, oh no. Said, Aurora, look, that bird does not have a head. And then she found the head. And now she has a theory. She thinks it's a bird attack. Thinks a bird, they attack the other bird. So, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Problematic Frank. This is Problematic Todd. How are you?
Hello, Todd. Good to have you on.
Hey, that last story about the heron was kind of a buzzkill. I was hoping for the Jersey Devil.
Me too. I was, that's just one of those things. I was waiting for something to glow. I was waiting for something to move telekinetically, but it's okay. We'll find it one day.
One day we will. And the irony is I play a lot of my golf at a course out here called Heron Lakes. And one of the courses they have two, is called the Great Blue. So maybe that's high strangeness, Frank. I don't know.
It's definitely synchronicity, that's for sure. Have you never seen any little old men turn into giant winged creatures?
Not yet. I keep my eyes peeled. I live in Oregon, so I'm always on the lookout for the big fella out here. Maybe I'm just looking too high. I haven't seen any little people, but you never know. You never know.
I wouldn't be surprised if Bigfoot has actually moved into Portland at this point. It'd be very easy just to blend in and among all the other craziness. That's one of those things. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of high strangeness here, Frank. So you could be right about that.
I know. Well, thank you so much. Anything else you want to say?
No. You know what? I'm gonna keep it to that. I love you, Frank. Everybody loves you. And I'll call again soon.
Oh, great. Fantastic. I was thinking about this. Another reason why I'd love to get David Paulides on the phone one day, too, because we did this a little bit with John D'Souza back. I don't know. John D'Souza came on the show a few times back. Now, I think we're counting in years at this point. But he did the Missing 411, the UFO connection. That's the last time John D'Souza was on the show, when he teamed up with David Paulides for UFO, Missing 411, the UFO connection. And I definitely want to talk to somebody about the urban nature of Missing 411. Because you could talk about, national parks and wooded areas, Bigfoot, whatever the hell it is. And the potential reasons why all of this activity goes on out there, why people go missing. Whatever the theories are, if it's just, being turned around a little bit, if we're talking if we're talking about portals in the woods, whatever it is, I mean, there's got to be something. There's got to be something that goes on in the cities as well. It's a little bit more of a steel and concrete jungle, but is there anything that happens there? I would love to see, I would love to learn about that. Somebody has to have some kind of insight. So you can call in on whatever you'd like. But this Idaho thing is crazy. Suspect sniper believed to have intentionally set a blaze in Idaho on Sunday to ambush firefighters and police, killing at least 2. It's now identified as 20-year-old Wes Rowley, and he's dead, of course. We'll get to him in just a moment. Let's take another call from Bowie. Bowie? Hello?
Hi, Frank. It's Morgan.
Hello, Morgan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's good to have you back on the show.
Yes, it's great to be back. I just have a weird sighting, I suppose. It happened about 10 years ago. We were at our friend's house in California, and we were watching a UFC fight, and one of the kids from the party came in and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a flying saucer outside." So all the adults dismissed it and just were like, whatever. But I'm like, I'm going to go check this out. And shit, there was literally like a black, shiny flying saucer just hovering over a humongous metropolis, just quietly hovering over everything.
Then can you please explain black and shiny? Like if it's dark?
I guess maybe it was like a dark gray metallic. So
okay.
Not black.
So there was some reflective properties to it, qualities.
Yeah, there definitely was, and there were lights, like on the whitest part of the saucer, like in the middle, around the whole edge of it. There were lights that were just kind of like rotating. It was wild, but I don't know. People experience UFOs and feel like, oh, they knew that I was watching, or they had some type of a feeling about it. I had no feeling about it. It felt very mechanical, very not of this world. It felt very maybe military or something.
Okay. Okay, so let me about as far as the setting goes, because you said that it was this object that was kind of floating over a city. Were you in some sort of a rural outskirt, like you know how you can look down at a valley area and see a city in a valley, but you can be well removed from it all and actually be in a observation standpoint looking down at an entire city? Is that how you saw this, or are you part of this? Are you in the cities?
Oh no, it's just a city, a huge neighborhood that just It's a sprawling, it's pretty much 50 miles outside of LA, but it's just sprawls from LA. Nothing but massively city. It's definitely a city.
Wow.
Just over tons of houses. And I think it was kind of before people really got into social media, so I didn't see anything get reported about it, but yeah, I saw it. It was weird.
Well, thank you so much for this. Man, especially I think I would feel a little bit more safe to be around it if I was in a situation like you. Everybody that sees this stuff when they're out camping and they're all alone, I think it's a little bit too much of an intimate setting for me. I want to be around a lot of people so that I'm not
a lot of witnesses.
Yes, witnesses, and I don't know, safety in numbers, they say. But anyway,
that's true.
Thanks for the call, Morgan, and all the best to you and the family.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. There you go. A little bit more than that. Jules from Maryland. Hello, Jules.
Hey, Frank. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How's everything by you?
It's good. Although I just, earlier, I was in my house and I thought, why is it getting so daggone hot in here? And I had turned the air conditioning off.
Well.
So
I mean,
I felt very stupid for that.
At least it's a easy fix. At least last night, I've been trying to go a couple of nights without the AC, but then I'll wake up at 3 and it's like I don't know, it's like a swamp. Yeah. I said so.
You're fighting a losing battle.
I know.
Hey, I wanted to add to the fireman story,
yes.
And I kind of put this in the chat a little bit on Rumble. George Webb looked at it. And he said he believes that this kid is being used as a patsy and that the real actual killer is a guy, I think his last name is Decker, and he's wanted because he killed his 3 children, 3 little girls, not too long ago. And they're saying that he's the one that started the fire and pulled everybody in.
So why would, so I guess my question, because there's other questions I have. And now I mean, depending on, a lot of it is all visual for me. I got to read you something my producer, Krista, sent to me. And she said, I keep saying stuff like this to Rob about AI news stories, that there have been several items in the news, notably people's appearances, that seem completely manufactured or driven by AI. It's not even believable. It seems like they're deliberately testing the public and to see what they will believe. Now,
what they'll fall for.
Yeah. Now, she and I were talking. We weren't saying that this is not real, that people didn't die or anything like that. But as far as the image and likeness that they gave us of this supposed suspect who's now dead. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's one picture of the guy. It's like, depending on what picture you look at, everybody gets something different. He either looks white, he looks brown, he looks trans, he looks just generally gay, or complete, or some of them, like this one, looks completely computer generated. Now, I'm not saying that this thing is fake, but one day something is going to happen, and all the suspects, all the police response, everything that is built up around the coverage of the incident is going to be simulated. Somebody's going to try it out. If it hasn't already been done already.
Wow. True. I mean, in today's day and world, we know that we've not gotten the truth on the Butler rally, the Las Vegas festival. I mean, there's still so many questions that none of us have answers to.
What did George Webb say? Did he offer up a theory as to why creating a patsy would have been necessary for covering up for a guy who is already, seems like, I don't know, he already killed his family? Why would that guy need to be protected?
I think it has something to do. The kid, the Decker kid, had a background in special forces. So that's, and I can't remember really how George tied it to that, but he said I don't know, because in the beginning they said, oh, we're getting fire from 4 different places. And he said the one person who would know how to do something like that would have been somebody who was a shooter in the special forces. It wouldn't have been this dumb kid who's, like, working on a Christmas tree farm or something. But who knows? Who knows how it's all going to wash out? But
yeah, well,
I don't know.
I know, because I mean, the shelf life of this is not going to be very long. I can guarantee that, because there's never any. There's very rarely is there any real earnest looking into the entire thing. Most of the interactions with stories like this on the internet are very shallow political food fights, and then all the rest I don't know. But anything else you got for me, Jules?
Yeah. Nope, that's just it. I think you should make a bumper sticker though with those words from when King said, "Get up" or "Get dressed, you're going." That would be hysterical to see that on somebody's car in front of me.
Did you? But you saw it. It's a bumper sticker, right? What I put out there.
No, it was. Oh no, I didn't actually see that at the beginning of your show tonight. We could hear you talking, but we couldn't see the video for a little bit of it.
Oh yeah, no, somebody actually made "Get Dressed, You're Going"
so
bumper
they
tickets.
Made it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. See, it's on the screen right now, and I don't know. Listen. I these seem like perfect things to get out to people in July. So, we'll see how many people we can get sign up as sponsors, and then the rest I'll
that
give
would
away.
be great fun. I would love to have one of those.
Okay, well, then we'll see what happens. I'd love to get you one.
Okay. All right. We'll talk soon.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
That's the other thing. I was thinking back to James Corbett when I saw all of this, because I'm in several group texts and all types of theories. Even groups that don't really have a theory, everybody will just drop about one event or another. They'll just start dropping things that other people are publishing. Hey, what do you think about this take? What do you think about this take? And, eventually there's so many takes that you're just like, I don't know. Something happened. Is it the official story? I'm less and less inclined to believe those. But that in itself is part of a psyop. Sometimes things are just what they are, but after a while, you don't believe anything. So, I mean, you might, Occam's razor might be enough to fool you sometimes. But, I think back to James Corbett, that video he did about War of the Worlds. He called it "How to Fake an Alien Invasion." And when he came on the show last year, I brought that up with him because I thought it was really interesting. And I would not be surprised if everything that was learned about the War of the Worlds broadcast, that was studied by by special interests like the Rockefellers and all that, the psychological impact, and we're talking about with first generation mass media technology. Well, I guess second generation radio. First generation was the printing press, but that's what I'm thinking about here. There's got to be that whatever was learned about those 1930s psyops had to have been repackaged in numerous ways, and it's probably going to be a lot more effective. I wonder how many times that this was done in hyper-local ways where, it'd be easy to fabricate something like an entire missing family, in a community, someone who lived. I don't know how you can do it, but I bet you any money it's possible. Bet you any money it's possible. Just through the power of suggestion and repetition, I bet you any money that we've been tested in a lot of ways where we'll get suspects given to us for stories that really don't last more than a couple of days, and the suspects were never real. It's got to be. It's got to be that it's happened already. Maybe in undetected ways, but I think people are starting to become a little bit more, I don't know, it's becoming a little bit more suspicious perhaps. Either way, this was a horrible thing to hear about, especially when firefighters are targeted, But soak it up. Soak up the story. Something else is coming. There you have it. Okay, let's take a little bit of a break. When we come back, Jeff Harman is going to be joining us. We'll get a little bit of a mid-year review from his end of things. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you to the calls in the first half. Hopefully we'll have time to take more of yours in the second. And with that, be right back. Frankly's, I've been listening to Podbean lately, packing and getting ready for our big move from Georgia to our mountaintop East Tennessee. By the way, the land graders found a cavern on our property. A cavern, you say? A crystal cavern? What are you going to do? Did you find, is like there an entry point? Are you going to explore it? You've got to take some, you and Dwayne have got to get some hard hats with some, with the light on it. You got to go in there and you got to just film. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Hello Kitty has just stumbled upon one of those like world class grade quartz deposits for all the microprocessors, and all of a sudden she's instantly a billionaire. Thank you for that so much, Kitty. By the way, everybody, your super chats are so welcome and needed. We have so many things that we're trying to bust out and break through this summer, and your support is huge. Become a sponsor for the night. Jay Britt says hello. Well, hello to you, Jay. Okay, over on Rumble, how's everybody feeling? Well, Grandma Grateful says, I caught the Dada and Aurora show. What a great show. I love that show. I love that show too. I said, hey, Aurora, what do you want to come with? She goes, you want to come with me to the P.O. box? She goes, yeah, sure. She goes, and I said, you want to stop by the studio? She goes, do you want to what to clean? I'd love to help you clean the studio. So she offered to clean the studio. I said, well, what if when we clean the studio, we put the air conditioner on? Would you want to do a little bit of a show? She goes, sure. I said, what would the name of the show be? And that's when she said the Dada and Aurora special show. I said, what are we going to talk about? Fruits and vegetables. Sounds good. And it was a very enthralling half hour of talk. She is one of my favorite co-hosts. I love it. All right, let's see here. Hey, would you blow me? Says, hey, Frank, I'm drunk and you're still ugly, but I still love you, man. No Cuomo. That Haywood guy, man. Somebody's got to hug that guy here. Somebody needs to hug him good and thorough. A thorough hug. Boys Blanc, thank you over there on Pilled, and Better Lately says, listening from the 51st state. Hopefully. What does that mean? Hopefully the 51st. Oh, you're talking about Canada? Oh, man. We'll see. I heard that after the Senate was done with the big beautiful bill, it's even bigger now. I heard it's even bigger now. It's trillions of dollars more. That's what I heard. I don't know. This one was from John Volts from last week. It was something that came in through Stream Elements. So just remember, everybody, I check Stream Elements every once in a while to make sure that there aren't any straggler super chats over there, but just go to quitefranklysuperchat.com and it'll take you to exactly where you need to be. John says, hey, did you get the Jetone? Yeah, that's it. The Jetone. What is it? The Telefonico. Jetone Telefonico, the token from Italy. I sent you in the post office over the weekend. I opened it up, John. And I got the little token. I put it in a special place. I don't know. He says you can give it away on the air if you like. I don't know. I think I'm going to keep that for myself. It's too obscure. I like stuff like that, but I don't know how many people would go nuts for it. So I'm just going to keep it for me, if you don't mind. But I really appreciate it. It's this little token, I guess, that people would use to, in Italy back in the day for, payphones or something like that. I have to imagine. I'm learning a little bit. It was a piece of history that actually taught me a lesson. I didn't know what the hell was going on there. But thank you for that, John. And we're talking a little bit about what's going on over the weekend. Obviously, we have kept ourselves up on what's going on around the country, and that is invariably dragged us around the world. But tonight, I'm really happy to bring back our friend, Jeff Harman. He is a seasoned astrologer of about 50 years now. We had him on sometime. I thought we had him sometime around the inauguration. But Jeff, I can't find for the life of me. I think the last time that we spoke was November 2024, just after the election. Does that sound right to you?
Man, I can't remember. Yeah, it was something like that.
I think so.
Like I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, no. That's. Oh, hold on. Wait a second. I'll get you right in the center there. Oh, well, anyway, welcome back to you, sir. It's great to see you
man,
again.
Thanks for having me.
How's everything on the West Coast feeling?
I'll tell you after tomorrow, because the gas prices are going to shoot up almost 75 cents a gallon, somewhere between 62 and 70 cents a gallon. That's what this communist is going to put us into. And because he's shutting down the refineries, we can see gas hit $6 to $8 a gallon in dystopia, which is also known as the communist proving ground called California.
I've seen that. I've seen it, especially your governor. I was saying that the other day. I said all of the
out of his mind.
I know,
out of his mind.
And right around the time of the election, I think it was like around holiday season last year. He was doing that little those little media stunts, reaching across the aisle and bringing in conservative voices or whatever.
Can you believe this?
I know. Yeah. So I guess the bloom has come off that rose. Anyway, we have had plenty of analysis of things going on, but I want your input on some things, especially when it comes to, let's start with Iran, okay, and the Israel situation. From differing geopolitical perspectives, we've had that, but from your standpoint, how did you see what was going on in the stars around and during the 12-day war? Because I'll give you one thing that has been coming up on this show that is very strange. We were talking about the financial markets. So some people watch the stars, other people watch the stock market, some people watch both. Okay? A lot of people make financial decisions because of what's going on in the stars. But more than a few people wrote into or called into the show and said, Frank, I got to tell you, the stock markets did not respond at all to any of the bombs being dropped like they usually do, as if all the movers and shakers out there who usually are placing very well-timed bets in one direction or another knew that nothing really upsetting was going to come from this long term, at least for now. So I just wonder if there was a similar lull on your end of things for what you examine.
Well, I've been saying since the latter part of March, beginning of April, we've been in what we call a Kalasarpa yoga. And people might say, what the heck is that? That's where all the planets are in between the eclipse points, every single one of them, except Pluto. And what's interesting about that is Pluto really doesn't count. True Vedic astrologers, they don't use Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. I actually do, and a lot of them do. But we have been in a really dicey, strange time of rearrangement, and we stay in it all the way to the end of July. And this whole situation is very, I notice the so-called quote-unquote owners at the top of the pyramid, the people who really run the money, they are very well aware of astrology. And I think that might had something to do with it, because this whole thing, when Trump went over to the Middle East and he went to Qatar, he went to Saudi Arabia, and that was really restoring the petrodollar back in the fold. And it really had a huge impact, I think, on what the BRICS nations are doing now. They're still marching forward. But what just happened is I think the owners just repositioned themselves back as the United States as the de facto hub for the financial worlds. And I think Iran needs to be taken out of the equation in terms of having a nuke, because they would have used it. And I don't think this thing with Iran is done yet. My take is, based on the astrology, we could see regime change there, even though it hasn't happened yet. I think ultimately this guy that's sitting in the United States or someone else is going to get in there and replace the maniac that's in there right now. I'm talking about the guy who's taking women who get, imprisoned for 90 years for letting their hair down, or putting on a dress or a skirt, or wearing shoes that are not approved. This is really, George Carlin was right. The best thing that come out of the religions was the music, right? And, some religions I agree with. They actually have some really great founding principles. But this one gets a little radical when you start, dipping people in oil and doing all this crazy stuff. And it kind of fits with where the astrology is right now, that I think we're in a major shift between now and the end of July. I've been talking about this. We've got, first off, Saturn is going to station and go retrograde right as it conjuncts Neptune. You might say, well, what does that mean? Well, that's the twilight zone. I mean, this is why it's really weird energy right now. It's very, very strange. And when that happens, literally 5 days later, Mercury goes retrograde. And then we got Neptune going retrograde on July 4th, which is literally this week. So we got some really crazy energies. And most importantly, Uranus, the planet of eclectic change and really out of the blue stuff, is going over the Pleiades. This only happens about once every 84 to 86 years. And what's really powerful about this is the last time it happened was World War II. Time before that was the Civil War. Time before that was the Revolutionary War. And of course, if you get away from just America and you look at the world at large, huge changes would always happen throughout history. As you go back, a lot of people say, yeah, but they didn't discover Uranus back then. Well, just because we didn't know about it doesn't mean Uranus didn't exist. That's like, if the tree falls in the wood, was there a sound? Well, of course there was. So Uranus has been around a long, long time, and a lot longer than we have, I think, or at least, since the solar system's been here. And that every time it goes around, every 84 to 86 years, we see tumultuous change. And I got to tell you, I've been saying forever that this whole thing from 220 forward was a huge shift in the consciousness, because even though it's been crazy, the United States had Neptune squaring Mars. And I mean, I'm telling you, talk about subterfuge. I think it was George Washington or Thomas Jefferson said it best. He said, if you want to destroy a country, loot the treasury on the way out the door. That's exactly what they did. They literally, did you ever hear of the, the Cloward Priven book?
Piven.
Yeah, Piven, that's it, Piven. Okay, if you read that book, these were 1966 socialists, communists, really. And you know what their three elements were to get rid of capitalism and destroy a country? The first one was create red tape, so much bureaucracy that nobody could do anything. The second one is loot the treasury. In other words, create so much debt it could never be paid or repaid. And the third one was flood the borders with mass migration. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and I got to say, ever since Trump's inauguration, and I'll get hate mail for this, because if I say anything good about Orange Man, you got to remember the propaganda media is mind controlling everybody into believing Orange Man is bad. And of course, it's we don't have talk show hosts anymore. We don't have news anymore. We have propaganda. And we can thank Obama for that, because what happened is he took out the Smith-Mundt Act, which basically allowed all this media to become propaganda without any recourse or, reconciliation on what they did or being held accountable for it. So it's crazy. And where we're at right now, in fact, even in California, we're about to see, I think, an implosion in this state. I don't know why Gruesome, Newsom, or New Scum, whichever one you want to call him, is doing what he's doing. He's committing political suicide because, by shutting down the refineries, keeping the new Green Deal going. And I mean, have you ever been in California? Did you ever look at the highways? They're filled, 6 lanes each way. And I know I just came through them a little while ago. And they're all crawling at 2 miles an hour, And I got to tell you, 98% of them ain't electric vehicles. And, it's like this is an effort in insanity to do what they're doing. And also the border flooding in the sanctuary cities, he's paying billions, and I mean lots of billions of dollars for all this healthcare. You go down to Fresno and you sit around and you'll see the emergency rooms. You can't even get in them because everybody and his brother is in there. Free healthcare, free this, free that. And I don't know how they even think they can keep it going. I think the air is a little thin, up there in Sacramento. Because,
we've had quite a bit of that over here. We've had a lot of hospitals that we grew up with close. It's just one of those things. It's happened.
Where are you located? I forget.
I'm in Westchester, New York.
And you're in
I'm about 25, 30 miles outside of Manhattan. I mean, a lot of small towns around here have had their identities changed completely. And
look at your governor. She's out of her mind.
I know. It's a sick. But you brought up Orange Man before, and I wanted to ask you. I always love asking you about political figure charts, and he's gotten a lot of. He has an unshakable demeanor. Even though in this recent spat with Iran, for example, has really caused even some fervent supporters to wonder about his decision making. Is this a distraction? Why did we need to get involved out there? Whatever the hell it was. But obviously, we also know that if there is a greater plan, we're not going to ever be privy to the planning there. So from your standpoint, have you done any updated charts on key figures in the country right now as they go into a pretty big year? Because not only are we in the summer now, the protests they've been there, but that's another thing I want you to talk about too. Is the protests have been very weak.
This will come right back on. Yeah,
you got it. Okay, I want to know about that. It's protest season, and then next year is the 250th anniversary. So. I'm just wondering how that chart looks for him.
Well, I got to tell you, this year, between now and the latter part of July, could be some really dicey stuff going on. You've got Mars also conjuncting the Moon's south node, Keto. I don't see World War III. I really don't. And I think this thing with Ukraine and Russia is going to play itself out. But as far as Trump goes, I said last year, I actually jumped on a live and I said, they're going to try and kill him before that happened. And they did. And that's right when Mars crossed Trump's midheaven. In fact, Elon Musk and Trump got in the fight exactly when Mars crossed Trump's ascendant. So, and the verdict was read for Trump on the 26 counts in New York, right exactly when Uranus crossed his midheaven. And then on the second hit, because things retrograde back and forth, on the second hit, he won the presidency. On the third hit, he's doing the stuff over in the Middle East with what we just talked about, shoring up the petrodollar. So this is, powerful times right now. What I would say, and I'll tell you what I've been running charts on, is what's the trajectory? Is what's happening good for the country? Or is it bad? Everybody's freaking out about all the tariffs and this and that. Oh my God, we're all going to be broke and destitute, and everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket. I actually think the opposite. From what I can see, the crap storm has moved east, meaning the Pluto return in the United States, these horrible astrological aspects that the United States has been in ever since 2020 are now separating. It doesn't mean that we're going to have some bumps in the road, but I think the trajectory right now and what's being done, they just released this potential $150 trillion, not billion, $1 trillion resource trust that for some strange reason, the Senate and the Congress put a cap on in the mid 1850s. It was the late 1850s or something like that, or early 60s, right around the Civil War era, and or just shortly thereafter. And they capped it off. This is why you couldn't access the mineral resources to the degree that they wanted to. This has all been opened up. The Supreme Court opened, and not many people hear about this stuff. And I also think what he's doing with the tariffs are going to really turn this country around. It's very interesting because Woodrow Wilson was the guy who rubber stamped and brought in the Federal Reserve Act. That's when the bankers took this place over. And George Carlin's right. Forget the politicians. You have owners, and they own this place. And they print the money. In fact, that's what got JFK killed. That's what got, Lincoln probably killed, is they were going to print treasury notes. So these bankers have been quietly behind the scenes running everything. There's a book I talk about. It's called The Great Taking by David Webb. You can log online. Anybody can find this. Just Google The Great Taking by David Webb and read that book. It's scary. What it really says is all these countries that are in this major debt like we are, the bankers own everything. They own everything. And I mean, the chair you're sitting on, they could technically collateralize and take from you if they ever wanted to call in the debts. This is why it's essential we not only balance the budget to get out of debt and start printing our own money. And this goes back to the whole fight between Elon Musk and Trump. And it's interesting. I just did a podcast yesterday, and I had someone on air ask me, do you think Trump and Elon are going to get together anytime soon? I go, no. Doesn't look like they're going to be clinking glasses at all. Not anytime soon. And the reason might be is I think with this Doge, they found so much incredible corruption that it was jaw-dropping. And I think now we're sitting here with the Senate trying to pass this huge, big, new, beautiful bill, right? And I think on one hand, Elon Musk might be right in one sense. It's that, my God, I couldn't run a company this way. And yet when I look over here at what's going on with Doge, this is insane. What corruption and, thievery has been going on in this country for a long, long time. I think it was Harry Truman said it best. He said, if you're a politician, you don't make much money. And if you do, you're crooked. And that's about as succinct as you can say that. And he was absolutely right. And look at all these politicians. They're all filthy rich before they ever even get halfully through office.
Well, let me ask,
what are they making?
I know. What are they making? And
right, 150 grand a year, 200 grand a year. Some of Trump, I think the president makes 350 a year, and he donates that. But then again, orange man bad, So I mean,
but wait, Jeff, on that point when you're talking about Doge, that's another thing I wanted to bring up and try to kind of like deflect this and go into a little bit more of social temperature right now, because the other thing that we've seen is that the financial lifelines of so many of the Bolshevik movements and the front groups and the people who are activated on a protest level and all that stuff. It's really all
getting funded.
I know, but
from the tax dollars,
and we've seen that has all been there. Now, as far as whether or not they've been, I know that a lot of it has been cut off in many ways, but not nearly
USAID and others,
not nearly enough yet. But the protests, let's talk about that. We already said a little bit about the money, but now on the social aspect, the protests that have been put together, it started in there was some ice deflective. I don't know. There was some sort of a big scandal that went on there in Los Angeles at a fashion company or something like that, and it spiraled out into No Kings, and then of course June 14th all over the country. But it was very weak, very weak. I'd love for you to talk about. There is just a weakness to the opposition at this point. We're not getting very bold movement out of Washington right now, because the Congress is just it's just been there for too long, and they're all fucking bastards. But a
lot of them are.
I know, but as far as
renamed Washington D.C. is now not the District of Columbia. It's the District of Criminals. It has been for a long time.
So, but again, I think that there is just a lot more people wanting some radical change out there, and I
think you're going to see it. This year there's something the ancient astrologers always did, and that was they cast a chart for the year. And when do you do that? The spring equinox. the spring equinox in the ancient times, the Chaldeans, the Egyptians, and all that, they would treat that as the beginning of the year. So when the sun became equal, the days and nights became equal, which is the spring equinox, that's when they'd cast a birth chart for the country. And I did that. And there's something very ancient in really ancient Jyotish or Vedic astrology, which is called the Kala Chakra Dosha. Kala is time, chakra is wheel. Everybody's seen the figure 8. That's the infinity loop of time. Well, it's interesting. I've never seen that defined anywhere except in the ancient Vedic texts. It is the infinite loop of time. And what's so cool about this, you can take and apply this to a question, to an interrogation or horary, as some astrologers call it, or prashna, or you can apply it to the beginning of the year, which is the spring equinox, which I did. And I looked at it and I went, wow, this is powerful because it shows, and this gets right back into the social stuff you're talking about, that by this fall, and it may even start to happen sooner, and we might see a little bit of terrorist stuff, but I don't think it's going to get a lot of legs. I really don't, because of the activation of the National Guard and the ICE is a lot bigger than we think. And if this bill passes, you're going to see that really get funded. And what's happening is, I think, because Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are in there, it shows you're going to see prosecutions. I think this whole Doge thing is so much bigger than we know. It's still going on, even though Musk isn't in there. It's still going on. And they have found so much corruption. And the rabbit holes go so deep. They got so many holding companies, so many different, shell companies that they got to go through, and trusts and backdoor trusts and trusts that run in this trust. So it's literally a maze to track where the money's going. But I think it's happening. And I think if the astrology is right, you're going to see prosecutions, not any more of this crap where we get, Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and, all these other people sitting in front of a high def camera trying to prosecute what went wrong, on a newscast.
It's actually going to happen?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think we're going to actually see real prosecutions. And I think when the dominoes start to fall, it's going to really be kind of jaw-dropping. And I've had a couple of psychics confirm the same thing that I'm seeing, and that literally we could see so much corruption not only get exposed, but get prosecuted. And this is really going to change.
Are we talking on a timeline of over the course of the next 3.5 years of the?
I think it's going to start this fall. And yes, it's going to go on over the next few years. I think by the time the end of this 4 years is done, we're going to really see some very jaw-dropping stuff. I really do.
Well, I mean,
and I think it's going to start this fall. I really do, because Pam Bondi, whether you like her or hate her, I like her. She is not going to put up with, neither is Kash Patel. They know what's been happening. It's very hard to prosecute this stuff. These people, they're better than the Indians were dusting off their trails and the cowboys, remember, in the old Westerns. They're really good at dusting their financial tracks. But what's happened is so many doors have been shut with all these security clearances and all this other stuff that's been going on that I think you're going to see things turn around. See, we just had a war between the globalists and the nationalists. That's really what, in my opinion, what happened. And 2020 was the crescendo. They literally thought COVID was going to wipe out half or 3/4 of the human race. And if that didn't, the vaccine would. And it didn't work. What's interesting is creation always has divinity in it. It always has things built in to fail safe. I'm not saying destruction and calamities can't happen. They always do, but creation always wins. And I think what happened here is they really made a valiant attempt to scuttle this country like bad. When you look at the debt that was created, and I think that's why Elon Musk is kind of in shock and horror. And I also think he's probably pissed off because, he's not getting his EV mandates in there either. You see, that were in there. And I'm sure that's, irking him too, because that's going to really hurt his companies a lot. But on the other hand, Trump, I think, is saying, we got to keep this train moving. We just can't stop the train and get 68% tax hikes and all the other things going to hell in a handbasket. Yeah, we got a lot of bad, rotten apples in the barrel, but let's keep the train on the track and we'll throw the apples out as we go down the track.
Yeah.
And I think that's more what they're looking at. And really, that's the smarter way to go. You know, a lot of people love Trump. A lot of people hate Trump. If you look at Trump's astrology, he is absolutely spot on to his astrology. He has what we call a Raj Yoga Mars in the ascendant. That's a fancy term that means Mars rules his ninth and his fourth house. And he's got the ruler of his ascendant, meaning the sun, in the midheaven. And he's got one of the most powerful fixed stars anybody could ever have right on his ascendant. And, you know, whether you like Trump or hate Trump, that dude's got a powerful chart. And he's almost destined to do what he's doing. In fact, back in 2016, everybody said, Jeff, you're out of your mind. He's no way is he going to be president. I said, yeah, he is. And because he had his primary directed, that's a fancy word, that if you take everyone's birth chart, you literally, all your planets march forward 1 degree per year. They're called primary directions. Trump had his sun crossed his midheaven right before he did this in his first presidency and took the oath. And I got to tell you, I'll talk about the inauguration. This last inauguration that Donald Trump was sworn in on, I know everybody said, oh, he didn't put his hand on the Bible. Okay, whatever. But I can tell you this, he is president. He did get sworn in, whether he put his hand on the Bible or not, right? Justice, John, whatever his name, swore him in. But here's what's interesting. Almost all leaders in the past mirrored the time they took the rulership, the kingship, the presidency, the prime ministership, whatever you want to say. Any ruler who is inaugurated at any ceremonial event, that astrology is like a birth chart for the presidency or whatever reign someone has. Well, I went back through every single president from the very beginning. In fact, there was actually, they say 8 congressional presidents before George Washington. Washington came a little bit later, but he was the first constitutional empowered president. That's why they call him the first president, which is really cool history. I just found out about this. Really interesting history of what happened with the Congress and all the developments and everything.
Well, you had the Articles of Confederation. We had several presidents under the Articles.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I just found out about that. Really cool stuff. But George Washington was the first constitutionally empowered president, truly, who had full powers of the Constitution. So what's interesting, and here's the point I wanted to make about the astrology. I went through every single president, every single one right to now to Trump. Not a single president was ever sworn in with the sun conjuncting Pluto. Now, people who are not familiar with astrology, well, what does that mean? Well, the sun is always indicative of the leader. That's why they always had inaugurations near noon. Why? Because it would put the sun, the leader, in the midheaven, right? Where it is at noon, right? I've never seen any president sworn in with the sun, indicative of the leader, conjoining Pluto. Now, you might say, well, what does that mean? And I know a lot of people say, oh, yeah, but Pluto's not a planet anymore. It's a planetoid. But I'll tell you what, if you study astrology, Pluto is like a magnifying glass. Yeah, remember when we were little kids, we took a magnifying glass, we shined it on the leaves and lit them on fire. So that's how Pluto is. It takes energy and it just focuses it. It's super powerful and transformative. And that's exactly when the sun joins Pluto. This means this presidency is going to be one of the most transformational presidencies of any president so far. Whether you love him or hate him, I'm telling you, this next 4 years, we are going to see things we have never, ever seen before. And this is really profound, actually. It really is. And, I'm glad, because when I look at the astrology of the United States, meaning taking the Declaration of Independence as a birth chart, which almost all astrologers do, and I progress that out in what we call transits or progressions, absolutely phenomenal what I'm seeing right now. It shows the sun and Jupiter are what we call a primary direction that is actually perfecting this summer. What does that mean? Well, that means maybe justice, maybe things turn around. So yeah, we're always going to have transits, so on and so forth. Like in 228, we got another bump coming. We always get them. That never stops. But this is a really good and powerful time. It's almost like the herd was running towards the cliff at full speed, and now somebody made a move the other way, and it takes time to get the whole herd to turn around. Or if you like the ship analogy, you turn a ship and it takes a long time for it to arc back in the circle. But I think the astrology says that's what's happening right now. Well, and I'm very encouraged because so many young people, this used to be the land of opportunity. And, everybody hates capitalism in the socialistic world, but capitalism is what makes us get up in the morning. We can all pursue, you want to do a podcast, you want to do whatever you want to do in your life, you can do it, and they were destroying this. Like this maniac that wants to become the one that just got past the primary. I forget his name, but he's all over the news right now. He's a communist. He's a communist.
I know.
I know.
They get driven by that. Some very few of them have ever really identified themselves in public that way, but now they're becoming a little bit more comfortable doing that. You're talking about a lot of different changes that we're going to see. I have to ask you this before we start, because we have about 10 minutes or so left, but these are big topics. So I wanted to ask you about this in particular, and that is the rise of AI. Starting with public sentiments, and especially the way that it's able to perhaps influence and shift public sentiment on any kind of one topic or another. What have you seen any hidden messages or spiritual undercurrents that have reared its head in especially in recent societal trends such as the rise of AI? I'd love to know that.
Well, I that's what I said. From 220 forward, we had what we call a 240-year mutation conjunction. See, in the 1700s, we had the Industrial Revolution. We are now in a high-tech revolution. We're not only going to see AI, we're going to see stuff explode in so many areas of technology. It's going to be stunning. And AI, I think as long as it's kept to benefit humanity, it's wonderful. But it's very dangerous because these dystopiacrats are literally panting at AI, because if AI gets control of our food systems, our energy systems, our military systems, kind of like Terminator, remember Terminator 2?
Yeah.
Right on. If this happens, which I'm talking like 30, 20 years from now, could be very dangerous, very, very dangerous. And, look at the Matrix. That was the first thing. Remember when Morpheus took Neo and sat him down in a chair? Well, AI blocked out the sun. That was the theory behind Matrix. So this is nothing new. When you look at many of the really amazing movies, which Philip K. Dick, again, the Wachowski brothers, the Matrix, etc. These themes have been huge. James Cameron and the Terminator series. I mean, right on. And there's a real clear present danger from this. There's no question about it. But I always say this: when AI can keep the world spinning, and even if you're a flat earther, keep the cycles of the astronomy going. And when AI can make the sun rise and set, when AI can create babies from stardust in the womb of women, animals, and the earth and agriculture, then I'm going to be more impressed. And I don't think AI will ever do that. Divinity is far above. And even though we could see many ebbs and flows here, I think we're heading into a higher state of consciousness. If you look at the yugas, which are many of the Vedas talk about that. Sri Yukteswar had published a book with Paramahansa Yogananda, and that he's just citing very ancient texts out of the Vedas, where about every 24 to 26,000 years, and a lot of people say it's 26, but it's a variance in between there. No one really knows. A lot of people say, oh no, it's 24 or 25,900 years, 25,700, but whatever, it's a long time. And this is the journey of our matrix called the solar system around this central point, which is also called the galactic center. And right around 12,500 BC, or I think it's 11,500 BC, we are supposed to be back at the galactic center, which means human consciousness is fully expanded. The third eye chakra is completely wide open. And most importantly, we have command of the evil spirits. And that's one nobody talks about, is the good and evil. And when you really get into the spiritual elements, it's truly, they say in the Yetziratic worlds, if anybody's familiar with some of the ancient texts out of Egypt and the Kabbalah and so on and so forth, Chaldea and Babylonia, and the Vedas too, they talk about the material worlds is really where good and evil begins. And I always show this diagram on my podcasts. If anybody goes to my podcast, I'm always talking about it. And that is the upper heavens. They say there's 49 dimensions and 49 subdimensions in the two upper major heavens. There's no astrology there. When the physical worlds start, this is where the good and evil, or you could say, creation of matter starts. And of course, look at atoms and molecules, positive, negative, protons, electrons, all this stuff balancing. Quantum physicists talk about this all the time, multiple dimensions. There could be literally 49 parallel universes. Now, I can't balance my checkbook, let alone fathom that one, man. That's deep, right? And they literally say that we are in multiple timelines that could be parallel to one another in multiple universes, let alone this universe is unfathomable. Well, and they say the evil spirits are incarcerated here. We're literally incarcerated here. And this is why everything under the heavens, no matter what planet, solar system, or multiverse you go to, will be born, it will grow, it will mature, experience atrophy, and die. That's the human kingdom, the animal kingdom, the alien kingdom, the mineral kingdom, even the earth. The solar system, they say, get destroyed about every 4-point-something billion years. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to finish that because that's actually in the Vedas. And I believe it's true. And I think the evil spirits are incarcerated in the material worlds. And that's why there's decay.
That's why I have a lot of, that's where my last question actually pops up. I'm glad you got there before I did. Because I know that you've worked on a lot of paranormal investigations in the past. And, the first half of tonight's show, I open up the lines just to have people call in with strange, unexplained stories from their past, what it could be, whatever. And earlier in the month, I think in the earlier parts of June or late May, I forget, I had an exorcist friend on the show. And I had brought up with him how paranormal experiences, especially cryptid sightings, UFO activity, they always seem to increase during times of, in a society when it's being brought through stressful times, or whether it be war, economic depression, whatever it is. So my question for you is, are there any astrological signatures in recent events, such as, unusual global phenomena or reported anomalies that suggest spiritual or unseen influences are at work?
Well, I think it's always at work. I don't think that there's, what I do notice is that the cabal at the top of the pyramid, the real evil ones, seem to strike during very powerful astrological times. 9/11 happened on a Saturn-Pluto opposition. The banks crashed on a Saturn-Pluto square. COVID broke out. You could have set your watch to it on a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So we got another Saturn-Pluto square coming up at 28. So they'll be back at it again. These people never stop. And I really believe there's a lot of satanic stuff that goes on. We hear the child trafficking, we hear the human trafficking, the sacrifices, and everybody says, oh, that's just a bunch of, imagination. Oh, no, it's not. That stuff is exceedingly real. And I wish it weren't. And it's really evil. And does it go on? You bet it does. I used to do forensics work. And back in the 80s, I had FBI agents telling me, so Jeff, we've tracked it. Because we know there's satanic rituals going on in certain religious organizations. Not all, but certain ones. And pretty wild stuff. And, it's what we can't do anything about it. They have a right to do what they do. And this stuff is very dangerous. And, I think the biggest thing for me, and I always love to communicate to people, I talk a lot about this on my podcast, and that is consciousness. When you become self-aware, if you just going through life and you think, nothing's ever going to happen to me or anything, the more you become consciously aware of what we're really operating in, the more I think you could stay sane. And, it's a very, very interesting place because I find ritual magic that is practiced in not all, but certain secret societies can be the highway to hell when they actually summon spirits, and they do, I know. That once they get your address, and people think these grimoires and ancient texts are not true, they are. They really are. And it's very dangerous, like the Keys of Solomon's, the Goetia, all this stuff. not good to play with. The sacred holy magic, which is actually mentioned by Rabbi Maharil in the sacred magic of Abramel and the Mage, that's where you get a guardian angel, a high guardian angel, to come to you to teach you how to control the evil spirits. Now, if you've been around the Tartarian stuff, which I'm sure you've had people on your show, look at the incredible structures and building, even the pyramids, all this stuff. Is this all extraterrestrial? I don't think so. I think we have certain individuals who tap into, at their soul evolution, the ability to control spirits. There was a man in Wisconsin. He built a place called House on the Rock, and they actually caught him lifting, like 10-ton rocks by going like this. He wasn't lifting them. He was just going like this and making the move over there. So this is really interesting stuff. And again, it really is the bequeathment of angels, very high angels. The ancient astrology gets into this stuff. Every single degree of the zodiac is ruled by angelic forces. Every time I see in the sidereal zodiac, your eastern horizon, the moment you draw a breath, that's what I was talking about with Trump earlier. Every single person's angel, and everybody's got one on the eastern horizon. You also have a tempter. I actually do gems that have your guardian angel on it from the birth chart. It's very ancient stuff, and it's wild. People go, wow, geez, I didn't know I was from this tribe, or I used to be a metal worker or a bricklayer or whatever. It's pretty wild, or textile worker, and it's pretty wild. The Vulgate translations in Latin actually screwed up a lot of the ciphers and codes that are in the ancient texts and the Psalms. And it totally dovetails into the ancient astrology. It's absolutely so accurate. It's creepy. We are in a reality machine. I always say God created time, so everything wouldn't happen at once. The earth is a time machine. That's what it is. It's a time machine where spirit can manifest into the physical, you could say, realm. Everything, the human kingdoms, the animal kingdoms, the plant kingdoms, if you want, alien kingdoms, and the mineral kingdoms. It's all spirit manifest. And it's really wild. Again, in modern society, we, look at our daily lives, balance the checkbooks, right? Take care of everything, pay the bills, first of the month tomorrow, right? So we're always focused in the mundane lower level. The conscious mind is actually an attenuator. It actually dumbs us down. So the third eye is almost closed. They actually say this mark we have right here between the nose and the upper lip is the mark of silence. And it's made, they say, right when we exit mom's womb and we draw first breath. Now, there are some people who dispute, forms in the womb, okay, it might, but I can tell you, we are knocked out at first breath. This camera will come right back on. So this one times out like this. Oops, that one really timed out. So here, let me restart it. But yeah, it's pretty wild stuff.
Well, it is, and I'm glad we got to end on this here too, because of course, going into the summer, there's a lot of exchange of. I feel like everything's at it's all very, the transactions that we engage in most subconsciously are all spiritual these days. Sure. We're giving attention to things, attention and human intent and focus is, conscious focus, like you were talking about before, is really, is that's the real currency that the unseen, that is really rude. It's the lifeblood of everything.
You bet. I want to mention something. I did a podcast not too long ago of an incredible situation. This lady is working with psychiatrists and doctors, and they have something called spelling to speech, that these so-called autistic kids are learning how to communicate. And see, a lot of these kids get vaccinated.
Is this the telepathy tapes?
That's right, the telepathy tapes. And I did a podcast. It's incredible. Do you know that these kids, when they start to communicate, they can talk to animals. They're talking to deceased relatives. They know stuff that no one could know unless they were actually doing that. Like one child is on this podcast that I did. Her son went to ride horses. Now he can't talk to anybody because he's, got this impediment. And a lot of people call it autistic. I think it's different. But anyways, long story short, he said, Mom, my horse told me that his best friend died. And that was before he started riding at that stable. So her mother goes into the stable and talks to the manager and says, did you have a horse here that used to be named Fred or whatever it was? Yeah. How did you know that? Well, my son said he talked to the horse and the horse said that was his best. You see what I'm saying? So we think we're smart. We are born and we are bombarded with information constantly, right? Our lower conscious mind, in Hebrew, they call it the nefesh, which is, it's really the steering wheel, the gas pedal, and the brakes, or if you like, the keyboard, the mouse, and the screen. It's an interface into this lower, dense physical world, but we have to be dumbed down to do it. Look at a baby. They're flailing, they're looking around. It takes some time. By the end of the first year, they're standing up. Some are talking a little bit. They definitely perceive a lot. By the second year, man, they're talking up a storm, and then we just keep evolving. By the time we're mature, our brain is packed full of so much stuff. The lower conscious mind is literally, it's like silly putty. It just absorbs and sticks. And the Vedas would call these thought form elementals or samskaras, and they permeate our aura. Edgar Cayce talked about this. And when we die, these auric energies that we created by our belief systems and all our consciousness go with us from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime until we become self-aware. And see, this is the beginning of humanity really becoming self-aware, and many have. This is what many of the great secret societies and religions originally taught, was if you become self-aware of the paradigm that you're truly in, you realize you're just a sojourner here for a very finite short amount of time. Most people live what? Some people live in their 60s, 70s, other people live to 100, but whatever, nobody lives too much past that functionally. We should be able to live to hundreds of years, and we used to in the ancient legends, and I believe we will again. I think as time marches on and they stop poisoning our air, our water, our food, and our water, we will. But it's a very interesting thing, because the life force energy that comes in through the sun is really fed by this galactic center. And I think the stars are portals. If you talk to most physicists, they'll say, well, the stars, fission, it's fusion, it's whatever. Okay. I think it's a portal to the upper heavens that are so bright, and this energy's coming through, and they might open and close or shut off. That's the supernovas and all that stuff. But it's a lot different viewpoint when you start looking at it from a spiritual perspective rather than just a left brain hard science perspective, because there's no question, no one can figure out why consciousness is not in the gray matter of the brain. That's why remote viewing, I was just talking to a remote viewing group this morning. I've worked a lot with different remote viewing groups. And these aren't, people that are, crystal balls and, all that. These are people who are military people. I mean, they're very disciplined, and they look at targets and all these different things. It's pretty interesting stuff. And we've done a lot of astrological research on why is this, certain targets accurate at certain times. And we definitely find the celestial alignments, which is really just astronomy, not astrology. Everybody calls it astrology, but it's really astronomy on the individual and energetic alignments. And it's really accurate. And I have to say, we're moving up the ladder. And AI, I don't think, is ever going to win. Again, divinity, the AI will never figure out how creation works. It might come to a conclusion on how it thinks.
Oh, no, I don't know, Jeff. I never thought that AI was going to be able to figure out divinity or anything like that. But it does seem.
Well, it has theories on it, actually.
For unenlightened, for a lot of unenlightened people who are not becoming self-aware, but actually slinking back into the opposite direction, it has become sort of a filter for reality. And that's what we've been talking about a little bit more, a reality filter. And perhaps when you come back, I like doing these little check-ins throughout the year. Of course, we're about to get into the dog days of summer soon here. Even though
Did you ever see this book? Check this out. This book, Simulacrum, is one of the books the Wachowski brothers had consulted in writing The Matrix. The simulation we're all in, it's not a simulation. It's very real. Drop a brick on your foot, call me on the first of the month. We're not living in a total illusion, but it is when you exit the body known as death. And this is why a lot of ghosts and disincarnate souls haunt places and become angry because their consciousness is locked into right where it was before they died. I just did a clearing a while back on a place in New York. Absolutely incredible. This addict had died, and mean dude, and he was possessing this particular place. And the psychics even had told the owner, "Hey, you got something really weird here. It's an evil entity." And I said, "No, it's a disincarnate soul who OD'd and is possessing your place. He's literally in it on the lower astral level." And see, we get sucked down into the lower astral earth plane, if you will. There's actually 7 of them, they claim, in the lower planes, and we get locked in here, and it's pretty dicey. It could be like the 7 lower hells, depending on where you are, and I think it goes the other way too. So really deep stuff. They claim there could be 49 parallel dimensions in the astral planes and 49 sub-dimensions in each one. So
we've spent a lot of time in the 7. Our friend Dr. Albert Taylor has been on with us quite a bit over the last couple of Halloweens, and he's a little bit more of an astral traveler himself. And we learned about moving up that ladder and what you leave behind as you make that trip, and it's always very, very interesting. And Jeff, whenever you come on, I always know that we're going to get so much more than I was looking for, and that's what I love about when you join us. So I'm looking forward to the end of the summer now, because there's going to be several things I'm going to be looking out for, especially around now you gave us a really interesting thing to monitor for the coming fall. Especially from a justice standpoint, because a lot of people are, we know that the time is short. The time is short. The action window is very short right now. If we're going to have anything really remarkable happen that's going to be lasting, we'll see. And but I know that you do a lot more. You do a lot of appearances. You have your own media that you put out. Where do you want people to follow you in the meantime before you return at the end of summer?
Well, I do a Wednesday and a Sunday every week on my podcast, Jeff Harman, Astrologer. You can just join it, and then it'll notify you when I come out. I've been doing a lot of lives lately because I've been so doggone busy. I don't have time to edit this stuff. And lives really work great. I love it. I just jump on StreamYard and go. And it's a lot of fun. People can ask questions, and we get into a lot of these subjects. And I always try and tie the current cycles to what's going on geopolitically. And, this is a dicey time right now, up until the end of July. Don't be surprised if we see some unrest and some terrorist attack attempts. I don't think they're going to be that successful, but this is a very powerful time right now. It's the veil is really thin when Saturn and Neptune come together, and they actually come to a conjunction right on July 16th. But Neptune's already retrograde, and Saturn stations it goes retrograde. So, and they actually hit 2 more times coming up at the end of this year and the beginning of next. Plus, we got Uranus over the Pleiades. This is why I think we're seeing a huge rearrangement of the system. And I would not be surprised, it's just to leave you with this, to get into the political world for just a second. Look at what's going on with the Fed chair and Trump. And I think if the United States ever reclaims its ability to print its own money, that is going to, and I to quote, I think it was either Jefferson or Washington had said, if anybody ever gets to print our money, they will be more dangerous than any standing army. Well, it's exactly what Woodrow Wilson gave over. And interestingly enough, his wife was running things just like Jill Biden. It's like Wilson was the gateway in, Biden might have been the gateway out. It got so insane that a lot of powerful people at the top of the pyramid are realizing this is going way beyond just money. If things are not corrected, their children and grandchildren might be in a incarcerated prison, a digital prison that ain't too pleasant. And I think this is why we're seeing the ship turning right now.
Yeah,
this Constitution and Bill of Rights is so important.
Oh, it is. It is. We should also find a way. I think it's not even at this point. It's not even arrests are not even enough. We need to put generational curses on people again. Make generational curses great again. Anyway, Jeff Harman, it's been wonderful to have you on. Send my best to Camille, and we will do this again soon, sir.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
As always, take care.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. There you go, everybody. Watch out for that traffic over there in California. I've been in that traffic before. It sucks, and I'm happy I don't live out there. Then again, it's only slightly better over here. I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about if we were to fly can we fly into a star and test out one of those portals? Perhaps they are. Oh man, there's all little things now that popped up. Things that were happening around 2017, 18. You remember when there were objects that were being spotted around the sun that seemed to pop up like from behind the sun and was almost like drawing energy off the sun, almost as if there was some sort of a craft out there that was, first of all, big enough to be seen, but was using the sun almost as a galactic refueling post. You remember that? Those are the types of things that me and Rob were talking about a lot. I feel like I don't even see that stuff anymore. The Nibiru stuff, the Planet X coming back around. Like, is anybody still pointing that shit out there? I don't see it. I'd like to take a vacation and dip myself back into those waters. That was fun. Anyway, great talking with Jeff. As always, I feel like there's a lot more. I don't feel World War III either. But then again, what is World War III? Just like when everybody says, oh, civil war is on the way, or this is going to trigger a civil war. I pay so little attention to that only because I think I know what people are seeing in their head as the imagery of what they're putting out there and what they're trying to say may be around the corner. So when I try to think, when somebody references a civil war or a World War III, I first try to think to myself, what are they imagining in their heads? And if you're basing it on the wars that used to be fought back in the 20th century or in the 19th century, it's not going to be that ever. And if that's the case, it might already be happening. Think about that one. I'm sure you have. All right, that's all for now. I'm going to go get ready for the final session for book club tonight. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, which was an amazing summer classic. And Charlie Robinson has already said he'll come by for next June to do Huckleberry Finn. That'll be great. Sign up for that one as well. That'll be a good one. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Shotzi says, happy Monday, ready for a great week of shows. Thank you, Shotzi. I'm happy you're ready for it. I am too. Over on Rumble, we've got Grimbold72. Says, I love you, Frank. Love you all, you Franklins and Franciscans. So cool. We can share each other's through your great show. The Get Dressed We're Going stickers are epic. Thanks to you all. No homo Cuomo. Big Chief Patriot says, great show tonight. Jeff is a very interesting guest. Really enjoying the content. As always, great interview with you, Francis. And then Jay Semo says, great start of the week. Thanks. Well, we're going to be really leaning our shoulder into more, like I told you, entertainment, culture, and the great mysteries of the universe. You know, as you can see tonight, even when we go off into the fringes with wonderful return guests like Jeff Harman, it always comes back around to what's happening right now and what's current. You know, what is ancient, what's current. Remember, I mean, you know, we're all, it's just, I mean, we're writing the latest chapter in our history. So there's always a way to make things relevant and current and all that stuff. So, you know, as long as we're not just doing the news for the sake of doing the news, then God help us. And man, I wish I can tell you, and I'll be able to tell you over the next couple of days, the kinds of bookings that we have coming your way. Some really interesting stuff. We got a psychedelic DJ coming on in August. Chris Shelton, who was on the inside of the Church of Scientology. He's going to be on with us. We've got some great people that me and Jay Gulanello are going to be interviewing. Let me see what else here. Oh, I've got R.J. Williams is coming on. R.J. Williams, I just interviewed him with my brother the other day, talking about, you know, his life as a magician and illusionist, and also At times he was robbing banks. And but he's coming back on the July 9th show, and we're going to be doing we're going to be doing Atheist Bible Study. RJ Williams has an incredible story as well that we've been talking about off air. He was an ardent atheist who, when he hooked up with his wife, he wanted to get on the same page. And she is a Christian and he was an atheist. And he told me, I essentially wanted to get on the same page, and I wanted to read the Bible cover to cover. And I was going with the full intent of debunking the Bible. Well, things didn't go quite as he planned. And I can't wait to hear this story because it is coming from a purely analytical. I mean, he's a very great analytical mind, of course. You know, some guy's trying to figure out how to rob banks and do it with relative ease and everything else. An illusionist, you're always coming up with formulas for it. You know, how do I create illusion? What's the formula behind the illusion? What is it? So I can't wait to do that. We have so many great things coming up. That's only the tip of the iceberg. G. Edward Griffin is coming back. Mike King, Barbie Rivera, who's going to be coming on to talk about big pharma in schools and how they're medicating away potential. On July 24th, Jay Dyer and Timothy Gordon are coming on because I want to ask them specific questions about Catholicism and Orthodoxy. I just things about that. I have a couple more. I think I might have Everett and Christian, two of the old baseball players that I brought on last year for the Boys of Summer show. I think they might be coming back, but I think we also might be having another special guest coming in to join that show, which would be really awesome. So I don't know. I'm thinking about so many great things to add in, and people you've never met before. Some really great return guests like we're going to have over the next couple of days. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night. And remember, all throughout this month now, let me just get everybody else. All throughout this month now, I am we're welcoming on new sponsors as always, and there's so many things I'd love to do with you guys. Everybody's of course getting samples of whatever sponsors we have on, especially Keto Brainz. We're sending you a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to be giving away these now, the Get Dressed You're Going bumper stickers. Thank you again to Jared Casada out there who sent that over here. But also, should just say it, because this week you're going to get a lot more information about it. But the Quite Frankly Jamboree is coming this September, and monthly sponsors are going to get first crack at these tickets. So there's that. The floodgates on that, the starting gate opens up this week. So I'm really happy with a lot of the exciting things that are happening. But please sponsor it all, because that's everything. All right, on to more stuff to do. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Be well. Thank you again to Jeff Harman for your wonderful company kept. And with that, I'll be checking emails and everything else. And I'll see you guys. I'll catch you all on the flip side. So good night. But I wonder, did I do the outro correctly? No, I didn't. I checked. Be all right. See you later.
I'll catch you on the flip side.